Marcus Cole's hands trembled as he watched the security footage for the third time. There, on the screen, was his 6-year-old son Julian, the boy who hadn't spoken in 2 years, the boy every specialist had given up on, sitting peacefully on the kitchen floor with the new black maid, humming. Not screaming, not throwing things. Humming. And then Julian whispered something Marcus thought he'd never hear again. "Mama?" Marcus's chest tightened. His vision blurred, because in that moment he realized this woman, this stranger he'd barely spoken to, had done what dozens of trained professionals couldn't. She'd reached his son. But what shocked Marcus even more was the feeling flooding through him as he watched her gentle smile, her patient hands, her quiet strength. It wasn't just gratitude. It was something far more dangerous. "You're new here. Welcome to the family. And if you're returning, thank you. This story will hit differently, so please, hit that like button and drop a comment. It genuinely helps YouTube push this video to more people who need to hear it. Let's get into it." They whispered about Julian Cole the way people whispered about curses. "That poor child, completely unreachable. The father's tried everything. Therapists, specialists, medications. Nothing works." Nia Okafor heard the whispers on her very first day at the Cole estate in Brookline, Massachusetts. But she kept her eyes down and her mouth shut. She was here to clean, to work, to send money back home to Lagos, not to get involved. The estate itself was breathtaking. A sprawling Georgian manor with perfectly manicured lawns, floor-to-ceiling windows, and the kind of old-money elegance that made Nia feel small. She'd grown up sharing a single room with 4 siblings. This house had more bathrooms than her entire childhood neighborhood. The head housekeeper, Mrs. Brennan, a stern Irish woman with silver hair pulled tight, gave Nia a quick, assessing look. "You're the new girl," she said flatly. "Yes, ma'am. Nia Okafor." Mrs. Brennan's eyes softened just slightly. "Nigerian?" "Yes, ma'am." "Good. You'll need thick skin here." She gestured down the hallway. "The staff quarters are downstairs. You'll be doing general cleaning, floors, laundry, windows. Stay out of Mr. Cole's office and the east wing." "That's the boy's area." "The boy?" Mrs. Brennan's expression tightened. "Julian, Mr. Cole's son. He's difficult, autistic, non-verbal, has violent meltdowns." She lowered her voice. "The nannies don't last more than a week. We've had 12 in the past year." Nia's heart squeezed. "How old is he?" 6. "Poor thing hasn't spoken since his mother died 2 years ago." Mrs. Brennan shook her head. "Anyway, it's not your concern. Just keep your head down and do your job." But as Nia walked through the grand hallways that first morning, she heard it. A scream, high-pitched, anguished, full of frustration and pain. She froze. Down the corridor, other staff members passed by quickly, eyes averted, as if the sound didn't exist. Another scream. A crash. Nia's feet moved before her mind caught up. She followed the sound to a set of French doors leading to a private garden. Through the glass, she saw him. A small boy with sandy blonde hair and pale skin, wearing pajamas at 11 in the morning, hurling toys across the stone patio. His face was red, tears streaming, fists clenched. And standing at a safe distance, watching with crossed arms, was a tall, elegant white woman in a cream pantsuit. "Honestly," the woman muttered to a younger maid beside her. "This is exactly why I told Marcus he needs professional help. He's completely out of control." The maid shifted uncomfortably. "Should we do something?" "And risk getting hurt? Absolutely not. Let him tire himself out." Nia's chest tightened. She'd seen this before. Her younger brother, Chidi, used to have meltdowns just like this. Overwhelming, terrifying to watch, but never violent toward others. Just lost. Trapped inside his own storm. Before she could stop herself, Nia opened the door and stepped outside. The elegant woman whipped around. "Excuse me? Who are you?" "I'm Nia. I'm new." "Well, Nia," the woman said sharply, "this is not your concern. Go back inside." But Nia didn't move. Julian had stopped throwing things. He was staring at her now, chest heaving, eyes wide and wet. Nia lowered herself slowly onto the stone bench near the garden edge, not too close, not threatening. She didn't try to speak to him, didn't reach out. She just hummed. A low, rhythmic melody her mother used to sing, the same one that calmed Chidi during his worst days. Julian's breathing slowed, his fists unclenched. The woman's mouth fell open. "What on earth?" "Shh," the younger maid whispered, eyes wide. "Look." Julian took a shaky step toward Nia. Then another. Then he sat down on the ground a few feet away from her, still staring, still listening. For the first time in what must have been hours, the garden was silent. Peaceful. The elegant woman's face twisted with something between shock and fury. "This is absurd," she hissed. "Marcus needs to see this." She stormed back into the house, heels clicking sharply. The younger maid lingered, staring at Nia with a mixture of awe and confusion. "How did you—" Nia smiled softly, still watching Julian. "My brother," she said quietly. "He's like him." The maid blinked. "And you just sing. Not just sing. I wait. I make space. I let him feel safe." Julian's small fingers began tracing patterns in the dirt. "Circles, over and over. Repetition. Comfort. Control." Nia recognized it instantly. She kept humming, and for the first time in 2 years Julian Cole didn't scream. Marcus Cole arrived home 20 minutes later, still in his suit from the office, phone pressed to his ear. "I don't care what the board thinks, Richard. If they want the merger, they play by our terms. I'm not negotiating." He stopped mid-sentence, because standing in the foyer, trembling with indignation, was his late wife's sister, Victoria Harrington. "Marcus," she said urgently. "We need to talk. Now," he exhaled slowly, hanging up. "Victoria, what's wrong? It's Julian, and that new maid," his entire body tensed. "What happened? Is he hurt?" "No, but—" She paused dramatically. She interfered. During one of his episodes. She went outside, sat with him, and started humming, and he just stopped. Marcus blinked. He stopped. "Yes, it was bizarre, Marcus. Unnatural. I don't trust it." Marcus's jaw worked. "Where is she now?" Marcus didn't wait. He strode through the hallways, Victoria clicking behind him, until he reached the French doors. And there, in the afternoon sunlight, was a sight that made his heart stop. Julian, his Julian, who flinched at touch, who screamed at strangers, who hadn't let anyone close in 2 years, was sitting cross-legged on the ground beside a young black woman in a simple housekeeping uniform. She wasn't speaking, wasn't touching him. She was just there, and Julian was calm. Marcus's throat tightened. "Who is she?" he asked hoarsely. Victoria's lips pressed into a thin line. "The new maid. Nia something. Nigerian, I think." Marcus watched as Nia slowly reached into her apron pocket and pulled out a small, colourful stone. She placed it on the ground between them. Julian stared at it. Then, hesitantly, he reached out and touched it. Nia smiled, warm, gentle, patient, and pulled out another stone, then another. Julian's small hands began arranging them in a line. He wasn't speaking, but he was, engaging. Marcus felt something crack open inside his chest, How long has she been out here? He asked quietly. Nearly an hour, Victoria said with clear disapproval. Marcus, this isn't appropriate. She's a maid, not a therapist, and frankly, I find it alarming that Julian responded to her when he won't respond to trained professionals. Marcus turned to her slowly, his blue eyes sharp. You find it alarming that my son is calm? Victoria faltered. That's not what I meant. Then what did you mean, Victoria? She straightened, recovering quickly. I mean that we don't know this woman. She could be anyone. And Julian is vulnerable. We need to be careful. Marcus's gaze returned to the garden. Nia was standing now, brushing dirt from her uniform. Julian remained seated, still arranging stones, but his little face was soft, peaceful. I want to meet her, Marcus said. Victoria stiffened. Marcus, now. He opened the door and stepped outside. Nia looked up immediately, eyes widening as she recognized him. She straightened quickly, lowering her head respectfully. Mr. Cole, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to overstep. I heard the noise and I just— What's your name? Marcus interrupted gently. She hesitated. Nia Okafor, sir. Nia, he repeated, tasting the name. His eyes dropped to Julian, who was still playing with the stones, oblivious to the adults. How did you do that? Nia followed his gaze. I didn't do anything, sir. I just gave him space. And time. You did more than that. She met his eyes then. Dark, steady, honest. My younger brother is autistic, sir. I know what it looks like when someone is overwhelmed. Your son wasn't being difficult. He was scared. Marcus's breath caught. No one had ever said that. Not the therapists, not the nannies, not even Victoria. They all called Julian difficult, unreachable, a problem. But this woman, this stranger, saw his fear. Marcus swallowed hard. Thank you, he said quietly. Nia bowed her head again. Of course, sir. She turned to leave, but Marcus's voice stopped her. Nia, she paused. Would you be willing to spend more time with him? Not as part of your duties, just if you're comfortable. Victoria made a strangled sound behind him. But Marcus didn't look away from Nia. Her expression softened. I would be honored, sir. Good. Thank you. As Nia walked back toward the house, Marcus stayed rooted in place, watching Julian hum softly to himself. For the first time in 2 years, hope flickered in Marcus Cole's heart. But behind him, Victoria's eyes burned with cold fury. This wasn't over. The estate buzzed with gossip by dinner-time. Did you see her with the boy? Sat right down like she owned the place. Mr. Cole actually thanked. Can you believe it? Victoria looked ready to spit nails. Nia heard every word as she scrubbed the marble floors in the main hallway, but she kept her head down and her hands moving. She wasn't here to make waves. She was here to survive, but surviving, she was learning, was harder than she'd thought. Mrs. Brennan found her near the laundry room an hour later, arms crossed, expression unreadable. You've caused quite a stir, the older woman said. Nia straightened, wringing out her cleaning rag. I didn't mean to, ma'am. Mrs. Brennan studied her for a long moment, then sighed. I believe you, but you need to understand something, girl. This house has rules. And one of them is, stay in your lane. Nia nodded. Yes, ma'am. I'm serious. Victoria Harrington has a lot of influence here. She was Mrs. Cole's sister, and she's been managing this household since the mistress passed. If you get on her bad side— She didn't finish the sentence. She didn't need to. Nia swallowed. I understand. Mrs. Brennan's expression softened slightly. Good. Now get back to work. But as Nia turned to leave, the older woman added quietly. That being said, what you did today? That was kind. Julian needed it. Nia's chest warmed. Thank you, ma'am. Mrs. Brennan waved her off, but there was the faintest hint of a smile on her lips. That night, Nia lay in her small room in the staff quarters, staring at the ceiling. She thought about Julian's face, the way his breathing had slowed, the way his hands had stopped shaking. She thought about her brother Chidi, thousands of miles away in Lagos, probably sitting in the cramped apartment right now, arranging his toy cars in perfect lines. Her phone buzzed, a message from her mother. Mama, did you arrive safely? Is the work okay? Nia typed back quickly. Nia. Yes, Mama. The house is very big. The people are different. The people are, Nia, good. Chidi asked about you today. Nia's throat tightened. Nia, I miss him too. Tell him I'll call soon. I miss him too? You're strong. Nia, down back tears. And remember, for her family, even if it meant staying invisible in a house that didn't want her to be seen. The next morning, Nia was folding linens in the upstairs hallway when she heard footsteps. She looked up. Marcus Cole stood at the end of the corridor, dressed in a charcoal suit, briefcase in hand. Their eyes met. He paused. Good morning, he said. Nia bowed her head quickly. Good morning, sir. He hesitated, as if debating whether to say more, then cleared his throat. I wanted to thank you again. For yesterday. It was nothing, sir. It wasn't nothing. His voice was firm but not unkind. Nia lifted her gaze. Marcus's blue eyes were tired, deep circles beneath them, tension in his jaw. But there was something else there, too. Gratitude, relief. I'm glad, sir. Marcus nodded slowly, then glanced toward the east wing. He's been asking for you. Nia blinked. Asking? Well, not in words, but he keeps looking toward the garden. And this morning, he brought me one of the stones you gave him. A small smile tugged at Nia's lips. He's communicating. In his own way, Marcus agreed. They stood there for a moment, the morning light streaming through the tall windows, and Nia felt something shift in the air between them. Something unspoken, something fragile. Marcus cleared his throat again. I have meetings all day, but if you have time later, would you mind spending a few minutes with him? Just, if you're willing. Nia's smile widened slightly. I would love to, sir. Marcus's shoulders relaxed. Thank you. He turned to leave, then paused. And Nia? Yes, sir. You can call me Marcus. When it's just us. That was unusual. But the way he said it, gently, almost shyly, made her chest warm. He gave her a small, rare smile, and then he was gone. Nia stood frozen in the hallway, heart pounding, linens forgotten in her hands. What just happened? Down the corridor, hidden behind a half-open door, Victoria Harrington watched the entire exchange, her perfectly manicured nails dug into her palms. Her jaw clenched. This was a problem. A big problem. She'd spent 2 years positioning herself as the woman of this house, managing the staff, hosting Marcus's business dinners, ensuring Julian stayed out of sight and out of mind. She'd been patient, waiting for Marcus to finally see her as more than his late wife's sister, waiting for him to realize she was the logical choice, the right choice. Now this, Maid, was threatening everything. Victoria pulled out her phone and typed a quick message. Victoria pulled out her phone. Come to the house tonight. Victoria, she slipped the phone back into her pocket. If Julian was bonding with her, if phone back into notice Nia, if Marcus was starting to needed to act, fast, Before this got out of control, that afternoon Nia found Julian in the garden again. When he saw her, his head lifted, and for the first time his lips curved into the faintest smile. Nia's heart melted. Nia picked it up, turning it over in her hands. "This one is very smooth," she said gently. "Where did you find it?" Julian pointed toward the flower bed. "Ah, a good hiding spot." She placed the stone back down and pulled a small cloth bag from her apron. Julian's eyes widened. Nia smiled and opened it, revealing a handful of colourful glass marbles. "My brother Chidi loves these," she said. "I thought you might like them too." She rolled one across the ground. Julian's eyes tracked it, mesmerized by the swirl of colours inside. Slowly, carefully, he reached out and picked it up. He held it up to the sunlight, watching the way it glowed. And then, so quietly Nia almost missed it, he whispered, "Pretty." Nia froze. Her breath caught. "Yes," she said, voice thick with emotion. "Very pretty." Julian looked at her, really looked at her, and for the first time she saw recognition in his eyes. Not fear, not confusion, trust. He placed the marble carefully in his pocket, then reached for another. Nia blinked back tears, smiling through the ache in her chest. "You can keep them all," she said. "They're yours." Julian's smile grew, and for the first time in 2 years he felt safe. Marcus came home early. He told himself it was because he'd finished his meetings ahead of schedule, that the traffic on Route 9 had been lighter than usual, that he simply wanted to check on some paperwork in his home office. But the truth he wasn't quite ready to admit, was that he wanted to see her. He wanted to see what was happening in his garden. He entered through the side entrance, loosening his tie as he walked through the quiet hallways. The house felt different lately. Lighter, somehow. Less suffocating. As he approached the French doors, he heard it. Laughter. Julian's. Laughter. Marcus's feet stopped moving. His heart hammered against his ribs. Through the glass, he saw them. Nia sitting cross-legged on the grass, clapping her hands in a rhythmic pattern. Julian mimicked her, his small hands slapping together, his face lit up with pure joy. "Now faster," Nia said, grinning. Julian tried, stumbling over the rhythm, and burst into giggles. Marcus's vision blurred. He pressed his hand against the doorframe, steadying himself. When was the last time he'd heard his son laugh? Before Emily died? Before the diagnosis? He couldn't even remember. Mr. Cole? Marcus turned sharply. Mrs. Brennan stood behind him, laundry basket balanced on her hip, a knowing look in her eyes. "I didn't mean to startle you, sir." "You didn't," Marcus said, clearing his throat. "I was just watching," Mrs. Brennan finished gently. "I know. We all have been." Marcus glanced back through the glass. "How long has she been with him today?" "About 2 hours. She finished her duties early and asked if she could spend time with the boy. I saw no harm in it." Marcus nodded slowly. "She's remarkable with him." "That she is?" Mrs. Brennan paused, then added carefully, "Miss Victoria came by earlier. She wasn't pleased to see them together." Marcus's jaw tightened. "What did she say?" "Nothing directly, but she made it clear she thinks it's inappropriate." "Inappropriate?" Marcus repeated flatly. "Her words, not mine, sir." Marcus turned fully to face the housekeeper. "And what do you think, Mrs. Brennan?" The older woman met his gaze steadily. "I think that boy hasn't smiled in 2 years. And I think the person who brought that smile back deserves respect, not suspicion." Marcus's expression softened. "Thank you." Mrs. Brennan nodded and continued down the hallway. Marcus looked back through the glass one more time. Nia had stopped clapping. She was showing Julian something in her hands. Looked like a small braided bracelet made of colourful thread. Julian reached out tentatively, touching it with gentle fingers. "My sister made this for me," Nia said softly. "It's supposed to bring good luck." Julian looked up at her, eyes wide. "Can you make me one?" Marcus inhaled sharply. "Full sentences." His son was speaking in. "Full sentences." Nia's face lit up. "Of course I can. What colours do you want?" Julian thought hard, his little face scrunched in concentration. "Blue. Like Daddy's eyes." Nia's smile turned impossibly soft. "Blue it is." Marcus couldn't take it anymore. He pushed open the door and stepped outside. Both of them looked up. "Daddy!" Julian scrambled to his feet and ran toward him. Actually, ran, crashing into Marcus's legs with a hug. Marcus dropped to his knees, wrapping his arms around his son, eyes burning. "Hey, buddy," he whispered, voice cracking. "I heard you talking." Julian pulled back, beaming. "Nia's teaching me clapping games, and she's going to make me a bracelet." Marcus looked over Julian's head at Nia, who had stood and was brushing grass from her uniform, looking suddenly shy. "Is she?" Marcus said, smiling. "Uh-huh, like the one her sister made." Marcus rose slowly, still holding Julian's hand. "That's very kind of her." Nia bowed her head. "It's nothing, sir." "Marcus," he corrected gently. "Remember?" Her cheeks darkened slightly. "Marcus," the way she said his name, soft, careful, like something precious, made his chest tighten. "Daddy, can Nia eat dinner with us tonight?" "Oh, Julian, I don't think—" "Please!" Julian's eyes went wide and pleading. "She's my friend." Marcus looked at Nia, whose expression had gone carefully neutral. "I don't want to intrude, sir, Marcus. I can eat with the other staff." "No," Julian insisted. "I want you at the big table, with me and Daddy." Marcus hesitated. This was unorthodox. Staff didn't eat with the family. But then again, nothing about this situation was orthodox. And the hope in his son's eyes. "If Nia is comfortable with it," Marcus said slowly, "then yes, you can join us." Nia's eyes widened. "Sir, I really don't think—" "Please," Marcus said quietly. "It would mean a lot to Julian, and to me." Their eyes held. Something passed between them. Unspoken, electric, dangerous. Nia swallowed. "Okay, thank you." Julian cheered and grabbed both their hands, pulling them toward the house. And for a brief, perfect moment, they looked like a family. Victoria Harrington arrived at exactly 6:47 p.m. She let herself in through the front entrance. She still had a key, after all, and was immediately struck by something unusual. Laughter, coming from the dining room. She followed the sound, heels clicking sharply, and froze in the doorway. There, at the long mahogany table that seated 12, sat Marcus at the head, Julian to his right, and Nia. They were eating pasta. Julian was telling some animated story about a bird he'd seen in the garden, and Marcus was smiling, really, smiling, while Nia listened with warm attention, like a family. Victoria's blood turned to ice. "Well," she said, voice cutting through the warmth like a blade, "isn't this cozy?" All three of them looked up. Julian's smile vanished. Marcus's expression hardened. "Victoria, I didn't know you were coming by." "Clearly," she said, stepping into the room. Her eyes raked over Nia with barely concealed disgust. "I didn't realize we were dining with the help now." Nia set down her fork carefully, eyes lowering. Marcus stood. Julian invited her. "And I agreed. How progressive of you," Victoria said coldly. She circled the table slowly, "though I wonder what the board members would think, or the Harrisons, or the Vanderbilts." You know, the people who actually matter in this community. Victoria, I'm just saying, Marcus, there are optics to consider. You're a Cole. You have a reputation to uphold, and having the maid sit at your dinner table sends a very confusing message. Nia stood abruptly. I should go. No, Marcus said firmly. Victoria's eyes flashed. Excuse me? Marcus turned to her, and his voice was cold. Colder than Nia had ever heard it. You don't walk into my home uninvited and insult my guests. Your guests. Victoria laughed bitterly. Marcus, she's an employee. A maid, not a guest. She's someone who's shown my son more kindness in 3 days than anyone has in 2 years, including you. The words landed like a slap. Victoria's face went white, then red. How dare you? How dare you? Marcus shot back. You come into my home, disrespect someone who's done nothing but help us, and act like you have any right to dictate who sits at my table. Julian had started rocking slightly in his chair, hands over his ears. Nia noticed immediately. She moved to his side, kneeling down, and began humming softly, the same calming melody from the garden. Julian's rocking slowed. Victoria watched with barely concealed rage. This is exactly what I'm talking about, she hissed. She's overstepping. She's inserting herself where she doesn't belong. And you're too blind to see it. Marcus's jaw clenched. Get out! Victoria blinked. What? I said get out. And don't come back unless you're invited. Marcus, I'm family. You were. Marmley, Marcus said quietly. But Emily's been gone for 2 years, and you don't get to use her memory as an excuse to control my life anymore. Victoria's face crumpled. For a moment, she looked genuinely hurt. But then the mask slipped back into place, and her eyes went cold. Fine, she said softly. But when this blows up in your face, and it will, don't come crying to me. She turned on her heel and stormed out. The front door slammed. Silence filled the dining room. Julian looked up at Nia, then at his father. Is Auntie Victoria mad at us? Marcus knelt beside him, brushing hair from his forehead. Auntie Victoria is just confused right now. But it's okay. We're okay. Julian nodded slowly, then looked at Nia. You're not leaving, right? Nia's throat tightened. No, sweetheart, I'm not leaving. Julian hugged her, and over his head, Nia's eyes met Marcus's. The air between them crackled. Marcus mouthed 2 words. Thank you. Nia nodded, but deep down she knew this was far from over. Victoria Harrington wasn't the type to give up quietly. Victoria sat in her Mercedes in the estate's driveway, gripping the steering wheel so hard her knuckles went white, humiliated, dismissed, replaced by a Maid? She pulled out her phone and dialed. It rang twice before a smooth male voice answered. Victoria, to what do I owe the pleasure? Daniel, she said tightly. I need your help. Daniel Harrington, her cousin, a corporate attorney with a reputation for playing dirty, chuckled softly. Let me guess. Marcus? He's completely lost his mind. There's this woman, some Nigerian immigrant he hired to clean, and she's wormed her way into Julian's life. And now Marcus he's ending. At dinner, like she's part of the family. And you're worried she's after his money, Daniel said knowingly. Exactly, or maybe, Daniel said slowly. You're worried she's after something you wanted. Victoria's jaw clenched. Don't be crude. I'm being honest. You've been circling Marcus for 2 years, Victoria. Everyone knows it, but if he's not interested, he is. Grieving, and this woman is taking advantage of that. Daniel sighed. What do you want me to do? Run a background check. Find out everything about her. Immigration status, financials, criminal history, anything we can use. That's expensive, and possibly illegal. I'll pay whatever it costs. Just do it. There was a pause. Fine. Give me her full name. Nia Okafor. Okafor. I'll have something by tomorrow. Thank you. Victoria hung up, exhaling slowly. She wasn't losing this. Not to some girl from Lagos, who thought she could steal everything Victoria had waited for. She started the car and drove toward her townhouse in Boston's Back Bay, already planning her next move. Inside the estate, Nia helped Julian get ready for bed. She'd offered to do it after dinner, and Marcus, exhausted from the confrontation with Victoria, had gratefully accepted. Now Julian sat on his bed in rocket ship pajamas, clutching the bracelet Nia had promised to make him. "Will it really be done tomorrow?" he asked. "I promise," Nia said, tucking the blanket around him. "Blue thread, just like you asked." Julian smiled sleepily. "You're the best, Nia." Her heart squeezed. "You're pretty great yourself, Julian." He yawned. "Nia?" "Yes. Are you gonna be my new mommy?" Nia's breath caught. She sat down carefully on the edge of the bed. "Oh, sweetheart, I'm your friend, your very good friend. But your mommy, she's always going to be your mommy, even if she's not here anymore." Julian's eyes filled with tears. "I miss her. I know," Nia whispered, "and that's okay. It's okay to miss her. Do you think she'd like you?" Nia smiled through the ache in her chest. Julian nodded, satisfied, and closed his eyes. Within minutes, his breathing evened out. Nia stood quietly and turned toward the door, and nearly crashed into Marcus. He'd been standing in the hallway watching. "I'm sorry," Nia whispered, cheeks burning. "I didn't see you. He's grieving. He just needs someone to listen." Marcus looked at his sleeping son, expression tender. "He's lucky to have you. I'm lucky to know him." They stood close in the dimly lit hallway, the air thick with something unspoken. Marcus's eyes dropped to Nia's lips for just a second, so brief she almost thought she'd imagined it. "I should let you get back to your quarters," he said finally. "Right, yes, of course," but neither of them moved. "Nia, yes?" Marcus hesitated, then shook his head. "Nothing, just thank you. For everything." She nodded, throat tight. "Good night, Marcus. Good night." And Marcus stood frozen, heart pounding, knowing he was in dangerous territory. The next morning, Mrs. Brennan found Nia folding laundry in the West Wing. "You've got a visitor," she said, tone carefully neutral. "Who?" "Immigration officer. Says it's routine, but—" Nia's stomach dropped. "But what?" Mrs. Brennan lowered her voice. "Someone requested the visit. This doesn't feel random. Where is he?" "Main parlour. Mr. Cole's in there with him now." Nia hurried down the stairs, heart racing. In the parlour, a stocky man in a grey suit sat across from Marcus, flipping through paperwork. "Miss Okafor," he said, standing when she entered. "I'm Agent Brooks, U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services. I'm here to verify your work visa status." Nia's mouth went dry. "My visa is valid. I have all the documents." "I'm sure you do," Brooks said, smiling thinly. "But we received a tip that you might be working beyond the scope of your visa. Your paperwork says you're employed as a housekeeper, but reports suggest you've been acting as a nanny. That's a different job classification." Nia's chest tightened. "I'm just spending time with Julian during my breaks. I'm not being paid extra." "Doesn't matter," Brooks interrupted. If your duties have changed, your visa needs to be updated. Otherwise, you're technically in violation." Marcus stood abruptly. "This is absurd. She's not violating anything. Mr. Cole, I understand you're trying to help, but this is a legal matter. Miss Okafor will need to report to our office in Boston within 48 hours to sort this out. If she doesn't, her visa could be revoked." Nia felt the room spin. Revoked. Deported. She'd lose everything. Brooks handed her a card. 48 hours, Miss Okafor. Don't be late." He left. The moment the door closed, Marcus turned to her. This was Victoria. It had to be. Nia sank into a chair, hands trembling. "What am I going to do?" Marcus knelt in front of her. "Hey, look at me." She lifted her eyes. "I'm not letting you get deported. We'll fix this. I'll call my lawyers. We'll file the paperwork, update your visa, whatever it takes. But what if—" Tears spilled down her cheeks. "Why are you doing this? I'm just—" "You're not just anything," Marcus interrupted, his voice fierce. "You're the reason my son is talking again. You're the reason he's happy. Again. And you're—" He trailed off, jaw working. "You're what?" Nia whispered. Marcus's eyes searched hers. "You're important to me." The words hung in the air between them, raw, honest, terrifying. Nia's breath hitched. "Marcus." He stood quickly, clearing his throat. "I'll make some calls. Don't worry. We'll handle this." He left the room before she could respond. And Nia sat alone, heart pounding, wondering what she'd just gotten herself into. That afternoon, Victoria received a text from Daniel. "Daniel?" The report. "She's clean. Visa is legitimate. Family back in Nigeria checks out. There's nothing here." Victoria stared at her phone, fury rising. As them. Daniel, I'm telling you." Victoria stared at her phone. Her family. "That's it." Victoria phone across the room. It shattered against the wall. If she couldn't destroy Nia legally, she'd have to get creative. Marcus Cole didn't sleep that night. He sat in his home office until 3 a.m., phone pressed to his ear, calling in favors from every lawyer, immigration specialist, and corporate contact he had. By dawn, he had a plan. And a migraine. Mrs. Brennan found him at his desk at 6:15 a.m., still in yesterday's clothes, surrounded by paperwork. "Sir, you look like death," she said bluntly, setting down a cup of black coffee. "Thank you, Mrs. Brennan. Your honesty is always refreshing." She crossed her arms. "Did you sleep at all? Is this about Miss Okafor?" Marcus looked up, exhausted but determined. "Yes, and I've figured out how to fix it." "Good. Because that girl's been pacing the staff quarters all night. She's terrified." Marcus's chest tightened. "Where is she now?" "Kitchen. Making breakfast for Julian." Marcus stood immediately. "I need to talk to her." Nia stood at the kitchen counter, whisking eggs with shaking hands. She'd barely slept. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw the immigration office, the airplane back to Lagos, Julian's face when she told him she was leaving. She couldn't breathe thinking about it. "Nia." She spun around. Marcus stood in the doorway, hair disheveled, tie loosened, eyes bloodshot but intense. "Marcus, sir, you look—" "I know." He stepped closer. "But I need you to listen." She set down the whisk. "I've spoken to 3 immigration attorneys. Here's what we're going to do. I'm officially changing your job title from housekeeper to child specialist. It's legitimate. You have experience with autistic children through your brother, and Julian has made more progress with you in 1 week than he did in 2 years of formal therapy. Nia's eyes widened. But I'm also increasing your salary to match the position and providing a letter of recommendation to immigration services. My lawyers will accompany you to the appointment tomorrow. They'll handle everything. Marcus, this is too much. It's not enough, he said firmly. And it's not just about Julian anymore. Nia's breath caught. What do you mean? Marcus took another step closer. They were inches apart now. I mean that I can't. He exhaled, running a hand through his hair. I can't imagine this house without you in it, and not just because of Julian. Because you. He stopped, jaw clenching. Say it, his mind screamed. Tell her. But the words stuck in his throat. Nia's eyes glistened. Marcus, I'm not asking you to feel anything, he said quickly. I know this is complicated. I know I'm your employer, and there's a power dynamic and 1,000 reasons why this is inappropriate. But I need you to know that I'm fighting for you because I want. Not out of obligation. Because I... Daddy. They both froze. Julian stood in the kitchen doorway, rubbing his eyes, clutching his stuffed dinosaur. Why are you and Nia so close? Marcus stepped back immediately. We were just talking, buddy. Julian squinted suspiciously, then smiled. Are you going to marry her? Nia choked on air. Marcus turned bright red. Julian, that's not. We're not. I think you should, Julian announced, climbing onto a kitchen stool. Then she can stay forever, and we can be a real family. Nia pressed her hands to her burning cheeks. Julian, sweetheart, it doesn't work that way. Why not? Julian asked innocently. You make Daddy smile, and you make me happy. And Mommy would like you. I know she would. Marcus's throat tightened. Nia knelt in front of Julian, taking his small hands. Your daddy and I, we're friends. Good friends. And I'm not going anywhere, okay? I promise. Really? Really? Julian hugged her tightly. Over his shoulder, Nia's eyes met Marcus's. And the look they shared said everything words couldn't. Immigration had failed her. Unknown number, she answered cautiously. Victoria Harrington? Yes. Who is this? My name is Celeste Monroe. I'm a journalist with the Boston Chronicle. I'm working on a story about wealthy families and their unconventional staffing choices. Victoria's pulse quickened. Go on. I heard through a source that Marcus Cole has recently hired a young African woman as his son's caretaker, and that there may be inappropriate dynamics developing. Victoria smiled slowly. Where did you hear that? I protect my sources. But I'd love to interview you, get your perspective as a family member. Victoria leaned back in her chair. I think I'd be happy to talk. Excellent. Are you free this afternoon? For you? Absolutely. Victoria hung up, satisfaction curling in her chest. If she couldn't destroy Nia legally, she'd destroy her reputation instead. That afternoon, Nia sat in the garden with Julian, braiding the blue bracelet she'd promised him. Almost done, she murmured, tying off the last knot. Julian watched, mesmerized. It's perfect. She slipped it onto his wrist. Now you'll always have a piece of good luck with you. Nia? Yes? Are you scared? She blinked. Scared of what? The man who came yesterday. The one who said you might have to leave. A little bit, she admitted. But your daddy is helping me, so I'm trying not to be too scared. Daddy really likes you. I like him too, Nia said carefully. No. Julian shook his head. I mean he, really. Likes you, like how he used to look at Mommy in the pictures. Nia's breath caught. Julian, "It's okay," he said simply. "I want him to be happy again. And you make him happy." Tears pricked Nia's eyes. "You're a very smart boy." "I know," Julian said matter-of-factly, making her laugh. From the second-floor balcony, Marcus watched them, Nia's gentle smile, the way they fit together so naturally. His phone buzzed. Text from his head attorney. "Mitchell. Immigration meeting confirmed for tomorrow 10 a.m. I'll meet you both there. Don't worry, we've got this." Marcus exhaled in relief. Then another text came through. From a number he didn't recognize. Unknown. "You might want to check tomorrow's Boston Chronicle. Front page." Marcus frowned. Marcus. "Who is this?" No response. Settled in his gut. The next morning, Marcus woke to his phone exploding with notifications, texts, emails, missed calls. He grabbed his phone, heart pounding. The first message was from his business partner. "Richard? What the hell is going on? Have you seen the news?" Marcus opened his browser, and there it was. Boston Chronicle. Front page. And Wall of Oz, Fortunaire, wealthy widowers. Inappropriate, wealthy widowers. Relationship with young immigrant employee, relo clearly taken, with a long-range lens of Marcus, and Nia in the hallway outside Julian's room. The angle made it look like they were standing far closer than they had been. Intimate, romantic, the article was worse. Sources close to the family report that Marcus Cole, 38, widower and CEO of Cole Enterprises, has developed an unhealthy attachment to a recently hired domestic worker, Nia Okafor, 26, from Nigeria. The young woman, employed initially as a maid, has allegedly insinuated herself into Cole's household under the guise of caring for his special needs son. Marcus's hands shook with rage. Family insiders express concern that Ms. Okafor may be taking advantage of Cole's grief and vulnerability, with some speculating financial motivations. He scrolled down. And there, quoted extensively, was Victoria. "I've watched this situation develop with growing alarm," Victoria Harrington stated. "Marcus is a good man, but he's been through tremendous loss. I worry that he's not thinking clearly. This woman appeared out of nowhere, and suddenly she's living in his home, eating at his table, inserting herself into every aspect of his life. It's concerning." Marcus threw his phone across the room. It hit the wall and shattered. Nia found out about the article when Mrs. Brennan knocked on her door at 6:30 a.m. The older woman's face was grave. "You need to see this." She handed Nia her tablet. Nia read the headline, then the article, then Victoria's quotes. Her hands started shaking so badly she nearly dropped the device. "This isn't true," she whispered. "None of this is true." "I know that. Mr. Cole knows that. But the rest of Boston?" Mrs. Brennan shook her head. "They're going to believe what they want to believe." Nia sank onto her bed. "What do I do?" "You hold your head high. You go to that immigration meeting, and you let Mr. Cole handle the press. But what if immigration sees this and thinks—" "They won't. Mr. Cole's lawyers are the best in the state, and the article doesn't actually accuse you of anything illegal. It's just gossip." Nia's eyes filled with tears. This is exactly what Victoria wanted. Mrs. Brennan's jaw tightened. "That woman is poison, always has been." A sharp knock on the door. Marcus's voice, tight and controlled. "Nia, can I come in?" Mrs. Brennan opened the door. Marcus stood there, still in his pajama pants and T-shirt, hair wild, eyes blazing with fury and something else. "Concern? Are you okay?" he asked immediately. Nia stood, wiping her eyes. "I'm fine. Don't lie to me." His voice was soft but firm. Nia's composure cracked. "They're making me sound like I'm some kind of gold digger who's manipulating you and Julian. I know. And it's garbage. All of it." He stepped closer. "I've already called my PR team. They're drafting a statement, and I'm filing a defamation lawsuit against the Chronicle and Victoria." Nia's eyes widened. "Marcus, you don't have to—" "Yes, I do. She's crossed the line, and I'm not letting her destroy you because she's jealous." "Jealous?" Marcus hesitated. "Victoria has been interested in me since Emily died. I never encouraged it, never gave her any reason to think I felt the same way. But she convinced herself that eventually I'd see her that way?" Nia's chest tightened. "And now she thinks I'm in the way. You're not in the way. You're—" He stopped, exhaling hard. "You're exactly where you should be." Their eyes locked. Mrs. Brennan cleared her throat. "I'll just give you two a moment." She left, closing the door softly behind her. Marcus and Nia stood alone. "I need to ask you something," Marcus said quietly. "Okay. The immigration meeting is in 3 hours. My lawyers will handle everything. But after this article, if you want to leave, if this is too much, if you want to go back to Lagos and forget this whole mess, I'll pay for your ticket. I'll give you 6 months severance. I won't fight you." Nia stared at him. You'd let me go. If that's what you want, yes. And if I stay?" Marcus's jaw clenched. "Then I protect you, with everything I have. But you need to know, it's going to get worse before it gets better. Victoria won't stop. The press will keep digging. Your life will be scrutinized. And I can't promise it won't hurt you." Nia took a shaky breath. "And Julian? If you leave, it'll break his heart. But he'll survive. Kids are resilient." The question hung in the air. Marcus's eyes darkened. "If you leave," he said slowly, "I'll survive too. But I won't be the same." Nia's heart pounded. "Why?" "Because somewhere between you calming my son's first meltdown and making him laugh again, and sitting at my dinner table like you belonged there, I started to care about you, more than I should, more than is appropriate. And I know it's too soon and too complicated and completely insane, but—" Nia stepped forward and placed her hand on his chest. His heart was racing. "I'm staying," she said firmly. Marcus's breath caught. "You're sure?" "I'm sure. Even with all of this? Especially with all of this. Because Julian needs me. And because—" She swallowed. "Because I care about you too." The words hit Marcus like a physical blow. For a moment, neither of them moved. Then, slowly, carefully, Marcus lifted his hand and cupped her cheek. "We don't have to figure it all out right now," she whispered. "We just have to survive today." Marcus nodded. "Okay, today." This was about fighting for something neither of them had expected to find. The immigration office in downtown Boston was cold, sterile, and intimidating. Nia sat between Marcus and his lead attorney, Mitchell Grayson, a sharp-eyed man in his 50s who'd handled immigration cases for Fortune 500 companies. Agent Brooks sat across from them, reviewing documents with excruciating slowness. "So," Brooks said finally, "you're claiming Miss Okafor's role has evolved from housekeeper to child specialist." "That's correct," Mitchell said smoothly. "As outlined in the updated employment contract, Miss Okafor now provides specialized care for Mr. Cole's son, who has autism spectrum disorder. Her background, caring for her own autistic sibling, makes her uniquely qualified." Brooks looked skeptical. "And this has nothing to do with the article in this morning's Chronicle?" Marcus's jaw tightened. That article is defamatory gossip with no basis, in fact. My relationship with Miss Okafor is professional and appropriate. Brooks raised an eyebrow. Professional? Yes. Then why are you here personally, Mr. Cole? Most employers send their HR department because Miss Okafor is valuable to my family, and I don't abandon people who matter to me. Brooks studied him. Then he looked at Nia. Miss Okafor, have you been coerced in any way to remain in this position? No, sir, Nia said firmly. And you're aware that your visa status depends on maintaining legitimate employment? Yes, sir. Brooks sighed. He stamped several documents. Fine. Your visa classification will be updated to reflect the new position. You'll need to check in with our office every 6 months. Don't miss those appointments. Relief flooded through Nia. Thank you, sir. Brooks handed her the paperwork. And Miss Okafor? Yes? Stay out of the tabloids. Outside the building, Nia finally breathed. Marcus's hand found the small of her back, a gentle, steadying touch. You did great, he said softly. Mitchell grinned. That could have gone much worse. Brooks is usually tougher. Thank you, Mitchell. Send me the bill. Already did. Marcus laughed, the first real laugh Nia had heard from him all day. As they walked toward the car, Mitchell's phone buzzed. His expression darkened. Marcus, you need to see this. He held up his phone. Another article. Different outlet. Marcus's expression turned murderous. She's claiming Julian is in danger, he said, voice dangerously low. She's angling for custody, or at least visitation rights review. Can she do that? Marcus pulled out his phone. Get me a family court attorney. Today, already on it. Marcus turned to Nia, jaw set. This ends now. That evening Victoria received a hand-delivered letter. She opened it, expecting a legal threat. Instead, it was an invitation. Victoria, we need to talk, face to face. Tonight, 8 p.m. my office. Come alone. Marcus. Victoria smiled slowly. Finally, a chance to confront him directly. A chance to make him see reason. She arrived at Cole Enterprises headquarters at exactly 8 p.m., heels clicking across the marble lobby. The security guard let her up to the executive floor. Marcus's office door was open. Close the door, he said. Victoria did, then sat across from him. I'm glad you wanted to talk. I'm going to say this once, Marcus interrupted, voice cold. Drop the custody angle. Retract your statements to the press, and stay away from my family. Victoria's smile faltered. Marcus, I'm trying to protect Julian. You're trying to destroy the one person who's actually helped him. She's manipulating you. No, Marcus said quietly. You are. Victoria's face flushed. I have loved you for 2 years, Marcus. 2 years. I stayed by your side when Emily died. I helped you with Julian. I organized your life. I waited for you, and the moment some pretty young thing shows up, you forget all of that? I never asked you to wait. But I did, because I thought eventually you'd see... I'd see what? That you were trying to replace Emily. Marcus stood. You're not her, Victoria, and I never wanted you to be. Victoria's eyes glistened with fury and hurt. Fine. If you won't listen to reason, I'll make sure the courts do. Go ahead. Try. Marcus pulled out a folder and slid it across the desk. Victoria opened it. Her face went white. What is this? Evidence. Security footage. Time-stamped emails. Witness statements. All proving you've been sabotaging Julian's care for months. Increasing his medication without my knowledge. discouraging therapists, scaring off nannies. Victoria's hands shook. You're lying. I'm not. And if you pursue custody or continue this smear campaign, I'll release all of it. Your reputation will be ruined. Permanently. Victoria stood abruptly, chair scraping. You're choosing her. Over family. I'm choosing my son, Marcus said firmly. And yes, I'm choosing her too. Victoria's mask finally shattered. Tears streamed down her face. Genuine, raw, ugly. I hate you, she whispered. I know. She grabbed her purse and stormed out, slamming the door. Marcus sank into his chair, exhausted. His phone buzzed. Text from Nia. Nia? Marcus asking for you. Everything okay? Marcus smiled faintly. Marcus. On my way home. And for the first he felt like he could breathe. 3 weeks passed. Victoria's smear campaign collapsed when Marcus's legal team released a carefully worded statement, backed by mountains of evidence, that painted her as an unstable woman acting out of jealousy, not concern. The press moved on to the next scandal. The whispers at the estate faded, and slowly, carefully, life at the Cole mansion found a new rhythm. Julian thrived. He was speaking in full sentences now, attending a specialized school 3 days a week, and had even made a friend, a quiet boy named Sam, who also loved dinosaurs. Nia's role as child specialist became official in every sense. She had her own office in the East Wing, a salary that made her gasp when she saw it, and the respect of every staff member. Especially Mrs. Brennan, who'd started calling her dear and sneaking her extra pastries. But the thing that changed most, the way Marcus looked at her. It was in the small moments, the way he'd pause in doorways just to watch her read to Julian, the way his voice softened when he said her name. They hadn't crossed any lines. Not officially, but everyone in the house could feel it. The pull between them, the inevitability. It was a Saturday morning when everything shifted. Nia was in the garden with Julian, teaching him how to plant tomato seeds, when Marcus appeared with his suit jacket slung over his shoulder and his sleeves rolled up. "Room for one more?" he asked. Julian's face lit up. "Daddy, look, we're making a garden." Marcus knelt in the dirt beside them, expensive trousers be damned. "A garden, huh? What are we planting?" "Tomatoes," Nia said, smiling. "And maybe some basil if we're ambitious." "I love basil," Marcus said, eyes twinkling. Their gazes held. Julian giggled. "You two are being weird again." Marcus laughed, ruffling his son's hair. "Sorry, buddy. Let's plant." They worked together in comfortable silence, Nia showing Julian where to dig, Marcus carefully placing seeds, all three of them covered in dirt and completely content. At some point, Julian ran inside to get water, and Marcus and Nia were alone. "You're good at this," Nia said softly. "At gardening?" "At being his dad." Marcus's throat tightened. "I wasn't, not for a long time, but you showed me how. I didn't do anything. You did everything." His voice was fierce. "You gave me my son back. You gave himself back, and you—" He stopped, jaw clenching. "Marcus." He turned to face her fully, dirt smudged on his cheek, eyes blazing. "I need to tell you something, and I need you to let me say it all before you respond. Okay?" Nia's heart hammered. "Okay." Marcus took a breath. "When Emily died, I thought I'd never feel anything again. I went through the motions. Work, parenting, existing, but I wasn't living. I was just surviving. And then you walked into my house, and everything changed." Nia's eyes filled with tears. "At first I told myself it was gratitude, that I was just grateful for what you were doing for Julian. But it's not just that. It's the way you hum when you think no one's listening, the way you fold your hands when you're nervous, The way you laugh at Julian's terrible jokes. The way you look at me like I'm not broken." "You're not broken," Nia whispered. "I was. But with you—" He reached out slowly, giving her time to pull away. When she didn't, he cupped her face gently. "With you, I feel whole again." A tear slipped down her cheek. "I'm in love with you, Nia." The words hung in the air, raw, honest, terrifying. Nia's breath caught. "Marcus?" "You don't have to say it back. I know this is complicated. I know I'm your employer, and there's a power dynamic, and society will judge us, and I love you too." Marcus froze. "What?" Nia laughed through her tears. "I love you too. I've been trying not to. I've been telling myself it's inappropriate and impossible, and I'm just the nanny, and you're grieving, but I can't help it. I love you. I love Julian. I love this ridiculous house, and Mrs. Brennan's terrible coffee, and the way you smile when you think no one's watching, and—" Marcus kissed her, softly, carefully, like she was something precious. Nia melted into him, hands fisting in his shirt, and kissed him back. When they finally pulled apart, both breathless, Marcus pressed his forehead to hers. "We're doing this?" he whispered. "We're doing this? It won't be easy." "I don't care." Marcus smiled, that rare, full smile that transformed his whole face. "Neither do I." "Daddy!" They jumped apart. Julian stood in the doorway, holding a watering can, eyes wide. "Were you kissing Nia?" Marcus cleared his throat. Finally," Julian shouted, pumping his fist in the air. "I've been waiting forever." Nia burst out laughing. Marcus pulled his son into a hug. "You knew her?" "Everyone knew, Daddy. You're not sneaky." Marcus looked at Nia over Julian's head, eyes dancing. "Apparently we're not sneaky. Apparently not." Julian pulled back, suddenly serious. "Does this mean Nia's staying forever?" Marcus looked at her. "If she wants to—" Nia knelt down, taking Julian's hands. "I want to—" Julian threw his arms around her, and Marcus watched them, his son, and the woman who'd brought light back into their broken world, and felt something he hadn't felt in years. Hope. But across town, in a sleek high-rise apartment, Victoria sat staring at her laptop screen. She'd been quiet for weeks, biding her time, planning. Because Marcus had made a critical mistake. He'd underestimated her. She opened a folder on her desktop labeled Insurance. Inside were documents, photos, recorded conversations, things Marcus didn't know she had, things that could destroy everything. "Daniel, it's done," he said. "I've filed the motion. Emergency custody hearing scheduled for next Tuesday." Victoria smiled coldly. "On what grounds?" "Unfit parenting environment. We're arguing that Marcus has prioritized his romantic relationship over Julian's well-being, that the child is being exposed to an unstable living situation, and that as his aunt and closest surviving maternal relative, you're the appropriate guardian. And the judge, Judge Patricia Hendricks, she's conservative, traditional, and she's ruled in favor of family stability over unconventional arrangements before." Victoria's smile widened. "Perfect. Victoria, are you sure about this? If you lose, I won't lose." She hung up and pulled up a photo on her screen. It was from a security camera she'd secretly installed in the garden months ago, before Marcus had her removed from the property. The image showed Marcus and Nia in the garden. With Julian watching, Victoria's eyes glittered. "Game over, Marcus." Marcus got the court summons on Monday morning. He'd been making breakfast with Nia, her teaching him how to make proper Nigerian pancakes, while Julian set the table, when the doorbell rang. Mrs. Brennan answered it. A process server handed her an envelope. She brought it to Marcus, face pale. "Sir, it's from the family court." Marcus's stomach dropped. He tore it open. Emergency custody hearing. Petitioner, Victoria Harrington. Victoried unfit parenting environment. Inappropriate relationship endangering minor child's welfare. Hearing date. Tuesday, November 14th, 9 a.m. Nia grabbed his arm. "Marcus, what is it?" He handed her the papers. Her face went white. "She's trying to take Julian." "She can't," Marcus said, but his voice shook. "She has no grounds. Mitchell will—" His phone rang. "Mitchell, you got the summons," the attorney said grimly. "How is this possible? You said we had documentation." "We do. But Victoria's playing dirty. She's got photos, Marcus, of you and Nia, in the garden, kissing, with Julian present." Marcus's blood ran cold. "How? Hidden camera. She must have planted it before you kicked her out. And she's spinning it as you prioritizing your love life over creating a stable environment for your special needs son. That's insane. It doesn't matter if it's insane. It matters if Judge Hendricks believes it. And she's known for being traditional." Marcus sank into a chair. "What do I do?" "We fight. We show up Tuesday with character witnesses, documentation of Julian's progress, testimony about Nia's qualifications. We bury her in evidence." "And if we lose?" Mitchell was quiet. "Then Victoria gets temporary custody pending a full hearing, which could take months." Marcus looked at Julian, happily arranging silverware, humming to himself, completely unaware his world might be ripped apart. "I can't let that happen," Marcus whispered. "Then we prepare. I'll be at your house in an hour. We have work to do." That night, after Julian was asleep, Marcus found Nia on the balcony. She stood with her arms wrapped around herself, staring at the city lights. "Hey," he said softly. She didn't turn around. "This is my fault. Don't. If I hadn't stayed. If I just left after the immigration thing. If we hadn't—" Marcus grabbed her shoulders, turning her to face him. "Stop. This is not your fault. This is Victoria being vindictive and cruel, and we're going to beat her. But what if we don't?" Nia's eyes glistened. "What if she takes Julian? What if I'm the reason you lose your son? You're not—" "I am. The photo, Marcus. She has a photo of us kissing, with Julian right there. And I know what that looks like. I know what the judge will think, that you're some grieving widower who got seduced by the young nanny and forgot about your son." "That's not what happened. I know that, but that's the story. And stories matter more than truth in courtrooms." Marcus cupped her face. "Then we tell a better story. We tell the truth, that you saved my son, that you brought our family back to life, that Julian is happier and healthier than he's been in years because of you. And if she doesn't care," Marcus's jaw clenched, "then I'll appeal. I'll fight. I'll spend every dollar I have. But I'm not giving up. Not on Julian. And not on you." Nia closed her eyes, leaning into his touch. "I'm scared. Me too." They stood together in the darkness, holding each other, knowing that in less than 24 hours everything could change. The courtroom was cold and imposing. Oak-panelled walls, high ceilings, a judge's bench that looked more like a throne. Marcus sat at the defendant's table with Mitchell and 2 junior attorneys. Nia sat in the gallery behind them, hands clasped so tight her knuckles were white. Across the aisle, Victoria sat with Daniel and her own legal team, looking immaculate in a navy suit, her face a perfect mask of concerned family member. Judge Patricia Hendricks entered, A severe woman in her 60s with steel-grey hair and sharp eyes. All rise. Everyone stood. The judge sat. Be seated. This is an emergency custody hearing in the matter of Julian Cole. Miss Harrington, you filed the petition. Present your case. Daniel stood. Your Honor, my client Victoria Harrington is the maternal aunt of 6-year-old Julian Cole. She's been intimately involved in his care since his mother's death 2 years ago. She's filing for emergency custody because she believes Julian is currently in an unstable and potentially harmful environment. The judge raised an eyebrow. Explain. Daniel pulled out a folder. Exhibit A photos of Mr. Cole engaging in a romantic relationship with Nia Okafor, an employee of his household, in the presence of the minor child. He handed copies to the judge and to Mitchell. The judge studied them. Marcus's stomach churned. As you can see, Daniel continued, Mr. Cole has prioritized his personal relationship over creating appropriate boundaries. Julian, a vulnerable child with special needs, is being exposed to confusing and inappropriate adult relationships. Furthermore, he produced more documents. Miss Okafor entered the household only 2 months ago as a maid. She has no formal training in child psychology or special education. Yet Mr. Cole has elevated her to a position of primary caretaker and is now romantically involved with her. This is a clear case of poor judgment that endangers the child's welfare. Judge Hendricks looked at Marcus. Mr. Cole, how do you respond? Marcus stood, heart pounding. Your Honor, Julian has made more progress in the past 2 months than in the previous 2 years. He's speaking. He's socializing. He's happy. And that's because of Nia. Miss Okafor, the judge corrected coolly. Yes, Miss Okafor. Marcus swallowed. She has extensive personal experience with autism through her younger brother. She connects with Julian in ways that trained professionals couldn't. And yes, we've developed feelings for each other. But that hasn't compromised his care. It's enhanced it. We're a family now, and families love each other. The judge's expression was unreadable. Miss Harrington, do you have additional evidence? Victoria stood, dabbing her eyes with a tissue. Your Honor, I don't question Mr. Cole's love for his son, but his judgment has been clouded by grief and loneliness. Julian needs stability, structure, not a revolving door of romantic interests. I can provide that. I'm family. I knew his mother. I can give Julian the consistency he deserves. And yet, Mitchell interjected, standing, you haven't visited Julian once since Mr. Cole barred you from the property 6 weeks ago. Is that the behavior of a concerned aunt? Victoria's face flushed. I was respecting his wishes. Or you were planning this custody grab. Mitchell pulled out his own folder. Your Honor, we have evidence that Miss Harrington deliberately sabotaged Julian's previous care, increasing medications without authorization, intimidating caregivers, even planting hidden cameras on private property. This isn't about Julian's welfare. This is about control. The judge held up a hand. Enough. I want to hear from the child. The room went silent. Excuse me? Marcus said. I'm ordering a private interview with Julian. Today, in my chambers. I'll make my determination based on what he tells me. Marcus's heart stopped. Your Honor, he's only 6, and he's at the center of this dispute. I want to know what he wants. Court is adjourned until 2 p.m. The gavel slammed. Marcus found Nia in the hallway, tears streaming down her face. I ruined everything, she whispered. No, you didn't. Julian loves you. He'll tell the judge that. But what if he's scared? What if he says the wrong thing? Marcus pulled her into his arms. Then we trust him. He's stronger than we think." Behind them, Victoria watched with cold satisfaction. Because she had one more card to play, one Julian didn't know about, one that would destroy Marcus and Nia completely. "Are you happy at home?" "Yes. Who takes care of you?" "Daddy and Nia. And you like Nia?" Julian's face lit up. "I love Nia. She's the best. She makes Daddy smile, and she plays with me, and she taught me about Nigeria, and she—" "Okay." The judge held up a hand, smiling despite herself. "So you want to stay with your dad and Nia?" "Yes." "What about your Aunt Victoria?" Julian's face darkened. "I don't like her." "Why not?" "She's mean," she yells. "And she made Nia cry." The judge made notes. "Julian, do you understand that your daddy and Nia have special feelings for each other?" "You mean they love each other?" Julian shrugged. "That's good. Daddy was sad for a long time. Now he's happy." "I like him happy." The judge studied the boy's earnest face. "One more question. If you could choose, stay with Daddy and Nia or live with Aunt Victoria, what would you pick?" Julian didn't hesitate. "Daddy and Nia. Forever." At 2:30 p.m., everyone reconvened in the courtroom. Judge Hendricks looked tired. "I've completed my interview with Julian, and I've reviewed all submitted evidence. This is my ruling." Marcus gripped the table. Nia held her breath. "While I have concerns about the speed with which Mr. Cole's relationship with Miss Okafor has progressed, I cannot ignore the documented evidence of Julian's dramatic improvement under her care. Additionally, Julian was clear and consistent in expressing his wishes to remain with his father." Victoria's face went white. However, Marcus's stomach dropped. "I'm ordering mandatory family therapy sessions for the next 6 months with quarterly progress reports submitted to this court. I'm also ordering that any future romantic relationships involving Mr. Cole must be disclosed to me for evaluation." She looked at Marcus. "Mr. Cole, you get one chance. Don't waste it." Marcus exhaled shakily. "Thank you, Your Honor. Petition for emergency custody is denied. This hearing is concluded." The gavel slammed. Victoria stood abruptly, face twisted with rage. "This is insane. You're letting him—" "Miss Harrington," the judge said coldly, "I suggest you leave before I hold you in contempt." Victoria grabbed her purse and stormed out. Daniel followed, looking defeated. Marcus turned to Nia, and the relief on both their faces was palpable. They didn't hug. Not in the courtroom, but their hands found each other under the table. The car ride home was silent, not the tense, suffocating silence of fear, but the exhausted, grateful silence of survival. Marcus drove with one hand on the wheel, the other clasped tightly with Nia's across the console. Mitchell sat in the back, already typing furiously on his phone. "I'm filing a restraining order against Victoria," he said. "And we're pushing for harassment charges if she comes near the property again." Marcus nodded, too drained to speak. When they pulled up to the estate, Julian was waiting at the window. The moment the car stopped, he burst through the front door and ran down the steps. "Daddy! Daddy!" Marcus barely got out of the car before his son crashed into him. "Hey, buddy," Marcus said, voice thick. "We're home. Did I do good?" "With the judge lady." Marcus knelt down, gripping Julian's shoulders. "You did perfect." Julian beamed, then turned to Nia. "Nia, you're still here." She laughed through tears. "I'm still here." Julian hugged her waist tightly. "Good, because I told the judge lady we're a family now." Nia's eyes met Marcus's over Julian's head. "A family." Mrs. Brennan appeared in the doorway, wiping her eyes with her apron. "Well, don't just stand there," she called. "Come inside. I made tea." As they walked into the house together, Marcus, Nia, and Julian, something settled. This was home. Not because of the mansion or the money or the prestige, but because they'd chosen each other. That night, after Julian was asleep, Marcus found Nia in the library. She stood by the window, staring out at the dark garden, arms wrapped around herself. "You okay?" he asked softly. She nodded, but didn't turn around. Marcus crossed the room and stood beside her. "Talk to me." Nia exhaled slowly. "I keep thinking, what if we'd lost? What if the judge had sided with Victoria? What if—" But she could have. Nia finally looked at him, eyes haunted. "Marcus, this was close. Too close. And I realized something today." His chest tightened. "What?" "I can't live like this. Always looking over my shoulder. Always waiting for the next attack. Always wondering if loving you is going to cost Julian everything." Marcus's heart stopped. "Nia, no. I'm not leaving," she said quickly. "I'm just saying we need to be smarter, more careful. We can't give anyone ammunition against us." "So what are you suggesting?" Nia turned to face him fully. "I think we should slow down. Keep things quiet, professional in public. At least until the court-ordered therapy is done and the judge closes the case." Marcus swallowed hard. "You want to pretend we're not together?" "I want to protect Julian. And you. And this family we're building." Marcus stared at her. This woman who'd walked into his life like a storm and changed everything. 6 months, he said finally. "What?" 6 months of therapy. 6 months of being careful. And then—" He stepped closer, cupping her face. "Then I'm done hiding how I feel about you." Nia's breath caught. "Marcus, I mean it. After this is over, I want everything. I want to take you to dinner. I want to hold your hand in public. I want people to know that I'm in love with you, and I don't care who judges us for it." Tears spilled down her cheeks. "Okay," she whispered. 6 months." Marcus kissed her forehead. "We can do this. Together," Nia said. "Together." 3 months passed. The court-ordered therapy sessions were actually helpful. Dr. Sarah Chen, their family therapist, was a kind woman in her 40s who specialized in blended families and grief processing. She helped Julian talk about his mother without fear. She helped Marcus work through his guilt about moving on. And she helped Nia navigate the complicated reality of loving a grieving family. By month 4, even the quarterly court report was glowing. Julian Cole has shown remarkable progress. His speech has improved significantly. His social skills have developed, and he demonstrates a healthy attachment to both his father and Miss Okafor. The family dynamic, while unconventional, appears stable and beneficial to the child's well-being. Marcus read it 3 times, relief flooding through him. They were going to make it. But in Boston's financial district, Victoria sat in a glass-walled conference room, staring at a contract. Daniel sat across from her. "This is insane," he said flatly. "It's necessary. Victoria, if you do this, there's no going back. Marcus will never forgive you. I don't need his forgiveness." Her eyes were cold. "I need justice." The contract in front of her was simple. The contract in front of her enterprise is Victoria Anton, transfer of shareholder, Damien Cross, Primian Cross, primary competitor, Cross Industries. Daniel leaned forward. "You're selling your shares to Marcus's biggest rival. Victoria, this could tank the company. Thousands of jobs. I don't care. You should. Because this won't just hurt Marcus. It'll hurt Julian too. That company is his inheritance." Victoria's jaw clenched. Julian will be fine. He has everything he needs. But Marcus... She smiled coldly. Marcus needs to understand that actions have consequences. He humiliated me. He chose her over me, and now he'll lose everything that matters. She signed the contract. Daniel watched, horrified. "What happened to you?" he whispered. Victoria looked up, eyes dead. "Marcus Cole happened to me. The news hit Marcus's office like a bomb. His CFO, Richard Chen, burst through the door at 7 a.m., face ashen. Marcus, we have a problem." Marcus looked up from his laptop. "What kind of problem?" "Victoria just sold her 12% stake in Cole Enterprises to Damien Cross." The room tilted. "She what?" "It's all over Bloomberg. Cross now has a 27% share, enough to challenge your majority control. He's calling for an emergency board meeting. Tomorrow." Marcus stood slowly, blood roaring in his ears. "How is this legal?" "It is. Emily's will gave Victoria control of her shares until Julian turns 18. And technically, there's no clause preventing her from selling to competitors." "This is revenge," Marcus said quietly. "Obviously. But that doesn't change the reality. If Cross can sway 3 more board members to his side, he can force a vote of no confidence. You'd lose your CEO position, potentially lose controlling interest entirely." Marcus sank into his chair. "How much time do I have?" 24 hours to prepare. The meeting's at 2 p.m. tomorrow." Richard left. Marcus stared at the wall, mind racing. Everything he'd built. Because he'd fallen in love. Nia found him in his office at midnight. He sat in the dark, staring at nothing. "Marcus?" He didn't respond. She flipped on the desk lamp and knelt beside his chair. "Mitchell called me. He told me what Victoria did." "I'm going to lose the company," Marcus said, voice hollow. "Everything my family built for 3 generations. Gone. You don't know that?" "I do." He finally looked at her, eyes red. "Cross is ruthless. He's been trying to acquire Cole Enterprises for years, and now Victoria just handed him the leverage he needed." Nia gripped his hands. "Then we fight, like we fought everything else. This is different. This isn't about custody or immigration or tabloid gossip. This is billions of dollars, and thousands of jobs, and my family's legacy, and Julian's future," Nia said quietly. Marcus flinched. "You think I don't know that? You think I don't realize that by choosing you? By choosing you us. I've put everything at risk." The words hung in the air. Nia pulled back, face pale. "So you regret it?" "No. God, no." Marcus grabbed her hands desperately. "But Victoria clearly thinks I should. And maybe she's right. Maybe I've been selfish. Maybe I should have—" "Stop." Nia's voice was firm. "Don't you dare say you should have chosen differently. We didn't do anything wrong. We fell in love." "That's not a crime." "It cost me everything." "Not everything. You still have Julian. And me. And we're going to figure this out." Marcus looked at her. This woman who'd lost everything herself to come to America, who'd been attacked and smeared and threatened, and still stood here telling him to fight. "How are you so strong?" he whispered. "Because I learned from you." She kissed him softly. "Now let's go win your company back." The boardroom of Cole Enterprises was packed. 15 board members sat around the massive table. Damien Cross, a silver-haired shark in an Italian suit, sat at the opposite end from Marcus, smiling like a predator. Victoria sat beside him, face carefully neutral. Marcus stood, Mitchell at his side, with 3 folders of prepared remarks. "This emergency meeting was called by Mr. Cross," the board chairman announced. "Mr. Cross, you have the floor." Damien stood smoothly. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm here today because I'm concerned. Concerned about the direction of this company under Marcus Cole's leadership. Over the past 6 months, we've seen erratic decision-making, personal scandals splashed across the media, and a CEO more focused on his romantic life than shareholder value. Murmurs around the table. I'm proposing a vote of no confidence, and I believe, with my new 27% share plus allied board members, I have the votes to remove Mr. Cole as CEO and install new leadership. Leadership that prioritizes profit over personal entanglements. He sat, looking smug. Marcus stood. May I respond? The chairman nodded. Marcus took a breath. Mr. Cross paints a picture of a distracted CEO. Let me share some actual numbers. In the past 6 months, Cole Enterprises has increased revenue by 18%, secured 3 major international contracts, and expanded our green energy division ahead of schedule. Our stock price is at an all-time high. He pulled up a presentation on the screen. These aren't the numbers of a failing company. These are the numbers of a thriving one. And yes, I've also been rebuilding my personal life. I've been healing my family. I've been present for my son in ways I wasn't before, and I refuse to apologize for that. Several board members nodded. Damien's smile faltered slightly. As for Mr. Cross's claims of allied board members, Marcus looked around the table. I'd like to hear directly from each of you. Who here actually believes this company would be better off under new leadership? Silence. No hands. Damien's face reddened. This is premature. I haven't formally... You called an emergency meeting to challenge my leadership, Marcus said calmly. So let's put it to a vote right now. All in favor of removing me as CEO. 3 hands went up. Cross, Victoria, and 1 board member who'd always been hostile. All opposed? 12 hands. The chairman cleared his throat. The motion fails. Mr. Cole retains his position. Damien stood abruptly. This isn't over. Actually, Mitchell interjected, standing it is, because we're invoking the shareholder protection clause. Any investor who attempts a hostile takeover without majority support can be forced to sell their shares back to the company at book value, which is significantly less than what you paid Victoria. Damien's face went purple. You can't. Already did. The paperwork was filed this morning. Mitchell smiled. You have 30 days to divest. Enjoy your loss, Mr. Cross. Damien stormed out. Victoria sat frozen, staring at the table. Marcus approached her slowly. Was it worth it? He asked quietly. She finally looked up, eyes glistening. I wanted you to hurt the way you hurt me. Goodbye, Victoria. He walked out, and for the first time in months, he felt free. Case closed. Cole Family Services. Isle determination. Family unit stable and beneficial to minor. No further oversight required. Marcus read it 3 times, then walked straight to the garden where Nia was teaching Julian how to identify different birds. Nia, she looked up. He held out the letter. She read it, eyes widening. It's over? It's over. Julian looked between them, confused. What's over? Marcus knelt beside his son. If she wants to... Nia's eyes filled with tears. Julian cheered. But Marcus wasn't done. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. Marcus, what are you... He opened it. Marcus, he took her hand. Nia Okafor, I love you. My son loves you. You saved us in every way a person can be saved. And I know this is fast and crazy, and society will judge us, and none of that matters because... Yes, Nia interrupted, laughing through tears. Marcus blinked. Yes, yes, I'll marry you. Of course I'll marry you, Julian screamed. You're getting married. Marcus slipped the ring onto Nia's finger, then pulled her into a kiss while Julian danced around them. When they finally pulled apart, both breathless and grinning, Julian tugged their hands. Can I be the ring-bearer? Absolutely, Marcus said. And can we have Nigerian food at the wedding? Nia laughed. We can have whatever you want. And can we invite Mrs. Brennan and all the staff and— Yes, 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 Marcus said, ruffling his hair. Everyone's invited, even Aunt Victoria. Marcus and Nia exchanged looks. No, they said in unison. Julian shrugged. Good. I didn't like her anyway. 3 months later, on a perfect October afternoon, they got married in the garden. It was small, just 50 people. Family, Nia's mother and siblings flew in from Lagos, close friends, the entire house staff, and Julian's therapist, Dr. Chen. No press, no spectacle, just love. Nia wore a white dress with traditional Nigerian embroidery at the hem, a blend of both her worlds. Julian wore a tiny suit and carried the rings with utmost seriousness. And Marcus couldn't stop smiling. When it was time for vows, Marcus went first. Nia, when you walked into my house, I was drowning. I didn't even know it, but I was. And you didn't just save me. You saved my son. You gave us both permission to live again, to love again. And I promised to spend the rest of my life making sure you never regret choosing us. Nia wiped tears from her cheeks. Marcus, I came to America looking for opportunity. I found family. I found home. And I found you. You and Julian are my greatest blessing. And I promise to love you both, through every challenge, every joy, every moment, for the rest of my life. The officiant smiled. By the power vested in me, I now pronounce you husband and wife. You may kiss. Marcus was already kissing her. The small crowd erupted in applause. Julian jumped up and down. That's my new mom. 6 months later. The phone rang in Victoria's sparse Boston apartment. She'd sold the townhouse months ago. Needed the money after the disastrous cross deal. She answered without checking the caller ID. Hello? Victoria. It's Marcus. She sat up straight, heart pounding. Marcus? I'm calling because Julian asked me to— Silence. He asked about you at dinner last night. Said he remembered you taking him to the aquarium once, before everything happened. Victoria's throat tightened. I did. He loved the jellyfish. He wants to see you. What? Not alone, not unsupervised, but supervised visits, once a month, at our therapist's office. Victoria's eyes filled with tears. Why would you, after everything I did? Because you're still his aunt, and because Nia reminded me that people deserve second chances. Victoria laughed bitterly. She's better than both of us. I know. A pause. I'm sorry, Marcus. For all of it. I know. Will you come? To the first visit? Victoria wiped her eyes. Yes. When? Next Saturday. 2 p.m., Dr. Chen's office. I'll be there. Victoria, if you hurt him again, I won't. I swear. Marcus hung up. Victoria sat in her empty apartment and cried. Not tears of anger anymore, but tears of something that felt almost like hope. 2 years later, Julian Code stood on stage at his elementary school's talent show. He wore his lucky blue bracelet, the one Nia had made him years ago, now frayed but treasured. In the audience, Marcus held Nia's hand, both of them nervous. Julian had never performed in public before, but he'd insisted. The music started. A simple piano melody. And Julian began to speak, not a speech, a poem, one he'd written himself. When I was little, I was lost. I couldn't talk, I couldn't play. When I was little, I couldn't talk, I couldn't play. I couldn't play. The world was too loud and hummed to fix me. I'm not lost anymore. The auditorium was someone started clapping, then everyone. Julian looked into the crowd, found his parents, and beamed. Marcus had tears streaming down his face. Nia squeezed his hand. "He's perfect," she whispered. "Because of you, because of us." Epilogue. 5 years later. The garden at the Cole estate had expanded significantly. What started as a small tomato patch was now a full vegetable garden maintained by Julian, now 13, as part of his therapy and routine. "Julian, don't forget to water the peppers," she called. "I know, Mom," he called back, grinning. Mom! It still made her heart swell every time. She'd legally adopted Julian 2 years ago. He'd asked for it himself, stood in front of the family court judge, a different, kinder one, and said, "I want Nia to be my real mom. Forever." So now she was. Marcus appeared behind her, wrapping his arms around her waist, hands resting on her belly. "How's she doing today?" "Active. I think she's going to be a soccer player." Marcus laughed, pressing a kiss to her neck. Just like her brother, Julian had started playing soccer last year and was surprisingly good. "Speaking of which," Marcus said, "Victoria's visit is scheduled for Saturday. Julian wants to show her his science project." Nia nodded. The supervised visits had eventually evolved into monthly dinners. Victoria had changed, gotten therapy, made amends, and slowly rebuilt trust. She'd never be the person she was before, but she was trying, and that was enough. "How are you feeling?" Marcus asked softly. "About the baby." Nia turned in his arms. Terrified, excited, grateful. Me too. They'd tried for 2 years before it happened. And when that pregnancy test finally showed positive, they'd both cried. Marcus placed his hand over hers on her belly. "She's going to be so loved. She already is." Julian ran over, dirt-covered and happy. "Dad, can we make jollof rice for dinner?" "I'm craving it." Marcus laughed. "Good," Julian said. "American food is boring." Nia laughed, pulling her son, into a hug, and standing there, surrounded by her family in the garden they'd built together, Nia thought back to that terrified girl who'd stood outside the mansion gates years ago. The girl who'd heard the whispers, the girl who'd been told she wouldn't last, the girl who'd almost given up 100 times. She'd survived, more than survived. She'd found home, not in the mansion, or the money, or the American dream, but in the family she'd chosen, and who had chosen her right back. The end. The story ends on hope, healing, and family, showing that love isn't about perfection, but about choosing each other through the hardest moments. Julian's growth, Marcus and Nia's relationship surviving public scrutiny, and even Victoria's redemption arc all tie together to create a complete, emotionally satisfying resolution. The twist wasn't a shocking betrayal. It was Victoria's corporate revenge that almost cost Marcus everything, showing that the stakes were real and the consequences lasting. But ultimately, love, patience, and choosing family won.